Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Randi Thompson joins us, the political consultant. She's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
Hit the open road on a brand new Harley or win a bundle of cash during the $250,000 Harley-Davidson giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Thousands in weekly giveaways, plus multiple grand prize winners including cash and 7 brand new Harleys. Now at the Carson Valley Inn.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
They want us to believe we only have 2 options. That's just not working anymore. I've never been a follower. I'm a businessman and entrepreneur. I'm ready to forge a new path to secure our future, one that keeps Northern Nevada free, fair, and wild. A path that means freedom for all, including affordable housing.
I'm Greg Kidd, and I approve this message because I'm not from either political party. I'm for Nevada.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are always pleased to welcome back to the program Randi Thompson, the political consultant. It is a pleasure to have you here.
It's nice to sit in this chair and every now and then. The pressure's on when you're sitting in that chair. You got to come up with questions. And have you ever done that? You just start talking to somebody and you just totally zone out and you're like, oh crap, I got to ask them a question now. What am I supposed to ask them? That's what I do in that chair sometimes.
I'm not admitting to anything, but I've been doing this a really long time.
True.
So,
well, I go back almost, 2005.
Right.
Was my first year, so we're almost at 20 years of doing this.
I know, isn't that crazy?
I looked so much cuter back then too.
So did I.
I
But
know.
but we're still good.
We're still here. That's
all right. So let us. The audience is going, well, this is nice.
This is interesting.
It's the
Okay.
Sam and Randi.
Okay.
So what did you think of the convention, the Democratic convention?
What I did see was interesting to say, well, what have you been doing for the last 3 years? If you're going to wait to do this on day 1, what about day, 9,422 that you've already been there? So frustrating, really. I don't know, I tried to get engaged in it. I tried to watch it, but it was a lot of very progressives. I thought Michelle and Barack Obama's speeches were excellent. Bill Clinton was kind of good, but it didn't really give her a bump much. And I think when you're dealing already with a flawed candidate and flawed policies, it's hard to sell that to the American public.
Okay.
But her ads are really good right now, I gotta say.
Why do you say flawed candidate?
Well, let's see. She's. If I was a Democrat, I'd be very upset with this very undemocratic process. You have a candidate who did not receive a single vote in the primaries. Meanwhile, 14 million people voted for Joe Biden. And she was actually trying to be, most of the insiders were trying to kick her off the ticket, a few months ago. So now suddenly she's their knight in shining armor. But she doesn't have much of a track record. As an AG, as a senator, she was the most progressive senator. So I think she is a flawed person. I mean, I've been watching her for the last 3 years. I think these people that are just now seeing her now don't know her track record of failing to go to the border and all these things that she was supposed to be doing that she didn't do.
Okay, but let's open this up and say, what are vice presidents supposed to do? Vice presidents are supposed to go to funerals around the world.
Well, she keeps saying she's right next to him on all those decisions. She was the last one in the room when they decided to pull out of Afghanistan. So she's saying that she's part of this team, and I think this team has been very flawed. I think the Afghanistan withdrawal is, to me, the pinnacle of the worst thing that happened in this administration, and the rest runs downhill. Getting rid of the Keystone Pipeline on day one. I mean, these are all things that have hurt our economy and hurt our country and hurt us on the national stage, and she's a part of that team.
Okay, so I will give you another view of the Afghanistan withdrawal,
Okay.
which is, what withdrawal is ever going to be clean? I mean, it takes months for, you know, a country to invade another country or to set up in another country. Pulling out is never going to be something that happens in one day that nobody knows about. It's a big secret. You know, we saw it going back to Vietnam, of what a terrible situation that was. Was there any way a Republican or other Democrat could have done a cleaner exit? I mean, it's just, I mean, we can look at it and go, it was awful, and it was, but would it have been any different? President Trump was also going to withdraw from Afghanistan.
Right, and I've just heard him say how he had a plan in place, but it wasn't implemented. So I fault him for not doing it. He wanted to get out of Afghanistan, and he should have speeded it up. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is the only thing you could have. You know, it's like the Hanoi Hilton all over again. It's those horrible airlifts out of Vietnam that we witnessed. So it's not pretty. But it seems like the 13 soldiers who were killed, that now it's all back in the news because Trump went to the laying of the wreath, and they're saying he politicized it. You know, he showed up. Nobody else has. He's never, you know, the president has never even mentioned those names, let alone called those families. So to me, it wasn't a great day, but the follow-up was even worse.
Is one of the things that one looks for if one is running a campaign is somebody who has no history. So for example, Jackie Rosen, when she was running for the House, Harry Reid picked her because she was the president of the largest synagogue in Las Vegas, had no political history whatsoever. There was nothing to run against her on in terms of her political career. Aren't vice presidents kind of in the same boat, where they, you know, during their time, they are going to claim that they were part of all of it, but as I said earlier, they're really to go to funerals unless, if unfortunately the president were to be incapacitated in one way or another, that they would then step in.
Well, she does have a track record as Attorney General and as a
Yes.
senator, but as a vice president, I look at Mike Pence as being a stellar vice president. I think he was that calming person in a rather tumultuous White House. I think Mike Pence was an incredible vice president. I think he was more that healer in chief kind of a person. Yeah, that goes to the funerals, but to me, he was advocating policies. He was leading policy discussions. So I think just based on a Pence versus Harris thing, I'm going to say Mike Pence was an incredible vice president. Can't say the same about like Dick Cheney, you know, or a few others, but.
Right, and your point is well made, but doesn't that also point to the fact, I think a fact, that governors are great people to run for president?
Yes, I think administrators are the best. Yeah,
they have that executive experience because, you know, it's so interesting because of the way media is, both the traditional media and social media. The president is the president, but the reality is that there are millions, not thousands, millions of people involved in government.
Oh yeah.
And so it isn't all one person. They don't make every decision and tick the box in either direction. And even beyond that, when you look at the Congress passing laws that the president signs, well, then it moves to the regulators who have way more power.
Well, I think the whole recent Chevron decision is an indication of how our federal agencies have tried to grab too much power. But I just saw the Reagan movie, and to me, a president, and I grew up with the Reagan era, I was a Reagan appointee back in DC. To me, Reagan was an inspirational leader.
Yes.
He was, and I guess that's what I think I look to our president to be, is someone that says, hey, I got this. I got your back, America. I'm working for you. And I'm just going to keep plugging away and do things that are right for our country. And I just don't feel that way under Joe Biden.
Well, I think that there are a lot of presidents we could look at, both before and after Reagan, that were the same way. But, you know, Reagan had incredible experience on the public talking circuit. When, you know, first of all, he was an actor, so he learned how to speak there. But then he was working for General Electric and in a very conservative position, speaking on behalf of them. And he was also an optimistic person by nature. And so I felt the same way. It wasn't so much a political connection that I had with Reagan, but it was just the same thing you're saying, that you felt good about the man.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the sad day was the Iran-Contra day, where he did the press conference, and you saw through all the facade, and there was the real guy going, I know it happened, but in my heart. And it was like, wow.
Yeah, that was a tough day. Yeah, just like the weapons of mass destruction. I remember Colin Powell testifying on that, and that was disheartening too.
Yeah, and then, you know, finding out that Nancy Reagan was consulting an astrologer for the important decisions. I mean, you know, I think, don't we make a mistake, all of us, in thinking that our leaders are not human beings?
Yeah, they are just like the rest of us. Yeah, and we have to treat them that way, and with respect too. I mean, as much as I get frustrated with this administration and the people behind it, it's the policies that I object to. It's not the people that I object to. It's the policies. So.
Okay, so therefore, what is your advice to former President Trump, that if he wants to be able to jump into the lead here, because it still appears to be, even after the Democratic convention, that it's about 50-50, what do you say to him? Because a lot of Republicans say, we don't like his attitude, but we like the policies.
Yep.
So what do you say to him?
Yeah.
What does he need to do in the next debate?
Grow up. I mean, just stop the name calling, stop the petty stuff, stick to the policies. Talk about how his policies are different and how he will lead differently. He's snarky and he's a narcissist, and it makes it really hard to vote for him. But you've got to look past the personality onto the politics, and he's got to just stay focused on what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. Because that interview that Kamala Harris did on day one, I'm going to think about the middle class. What are you going to do? She couldn't answer that simple question. Not, I'm going to take this executive order and rebuild the wall on the Mexican border. I mean, do something. But he just needs to stick to substance. He's got good substance. He's got a track record. And people are saying, oh, he's going to be a dictator forever if he gets elected. Well, he didn't the first time. I don't think he will the second time. I mean, look at what he did. And he should focus on what he did accomplish. I mean, the criminal reforms that he did, the prison reform actions that he did a lot of really good stuff for all Americans.
Well, and that was surprising when you considered the people that he was inviting to the White House, the rappers, et cetera, that helped free quite a lot of people from jails that wouldn't have been otherwise. But you know what's interesting to me? About 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching an old Joan Rivers show with Donald Trump from like 30-odd years ago, maybe 35 years ago now. And it was fascinating because so many of the things he was talking about then with Joan Rivers are exactly the way he is now. He has not, he had those policy ideas way back then. And the New York Times reported several years ago that his original plan was to run for governor of New York and then run for president. But the interview started out, and for those that don't remember Joan Rivers, she was a comedian, but she had a daytime talk show. And they were both against the media because they both felt they were unfairly treated by the media. And then he got into talking about policy situations. He was talking about the Middle East. He was talking about China. It's really fascinating. And he was young and good looking back in those days. I'm not saying he's old and ugly, but I mean, you make up your own mind on that. But it was just interesting that those policy positions have not changed over decades.
Yep. He hasn't flip-flopped. He's consistently supported more free market approach to government and less government. So yeah, he's been consistent.
So what do you say to people that are concerned that if he were to be elected president again, and Supreme Court openings were to open up, that the Supreme Court would move even further to the right?
Well, you probably will have some Supreme Court openings fairly soon. I think we need a balance, and I think he needs to look at how we balance it. You know, when did the Supreme Court get so politicized? I mean,
always.
Oh, I don't think it's ever been that bad.
No,
this bad.
Excuse me, it's the media. It's not.
Well, yeah.
It's not the politics of the court.
Yeah.
And I will defend the court at the same time. After saying that when you look at the decisions of this court, the majority of the decisions have been bipartisan. They have not been partisan. Obviously, on some of the major issues like Dobbs, they have been, leaning to the conservative side. But one can also say, hey, you vote you get a president, they get the opportunity to normally to elect or to nominate the people for the Supreme Court. But of course, Mitch McConnell made sure that didn't happen under the Obama administration.
Right.
So liberals have a right to be upset about that.
True, and I think if you look at some of the decisions so far, there have been several 9-0 decisions.
Right.
Kavanaugh has actually gone against what would be considered a Trump policy. So even some of his appointees aren't as radical as I think people expected. They're going to try to bring out the extremes.
Right, but that's the history of the Supreme Court, which is you appoint somebody that you think is going to be in one direction, and then they turn out to be somebody who actually looks at the Constitution and decides, hey, this is not appropriate and we're going to go in this direction, or this is appropriate and we're going to go in this direction. It's not about the ideology, it's about the Constitution and how you view it.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the people that are there, all of them are incredibly qualified. I mean, look how John Roberts supported Obamacare against all the Republicans. They're like, what? So it's not like they're not ideologues. They are really looking at the Constitution. They are, and I think there's a lot of pressure on them to put away their political views and say, what does the law say? What does our Constitution say? So,
well, also, the Supreme Court, being the third branch of government, they have their own grouping. And so they are not the House and the Senate. They are not the executive branch. And they have a history to maintain. And they don't want that destroyed so that there's a responsibility to being on the Supreme Court. And it's been interesting to watch the newer members on the court over the last couple of years to see the decisions that they've made and their writings. So yeah, it's a fascinating institution, but we'll see where it goes. But I know that obviously there are people who are very concerned that if you've seen Dobbs, then you could see other issues coming up that would be of great concern.
Well, I think, I mean, if you look really back what people said about Roe v. Wade, it wasn't great law to begin with. So Congress needs to address this issue, and they won't. So Congress just keeps punting, and they let the Supreme Court carry their baggage. And I think they need to start stepping up. Immigration and abortion are two of the issues that Congress just won't deal with.
Immigration, 1986. Ronald Reagan signed the last bill that was of consequence. It's crazy. Let's take a break. We'll come right back after this.
You've worked hard all your life paying into Social Security. Now that's something to admire. But Sam Brown disagrees. In fact, Sam Brown was caught on tape calling a plan that could phase out Social Security and Medicare something to admire. That's what Brown said about eliminating the Social Security and Medicare hundreds of thousands of Nevadans rely on. There's nothing to admire about that. Sam Brown, can't trust him to be for you. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Story County is leading Nevada. Home of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, Google, Tesla, Panasonic, and other world-leading companies. Story County provides thousands of tech, advanced manufacturing, and logistics careers for Nevadans. We're diversifying and driving Nevada's economy and generating millions in tax revenue and billions in economic activity across northern Nevada. Story County is leading Nevada's future.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our private conversation here between Randi Thompson and I.
We're actually being taped? I can't even tell. I thought we were just having like a little dinner conversation here.
As usual. Ranked choice voting.
Oh,
You
geez.
for it or against it?
I'm against it. Actually, there's a very good ad I see running on television right now that explains how confusing it is. That you have to pick 5 candidates. Most people go, okay, whose yard sign have I seen the most? That's the name I know. And a lot of people really don't take the time to get to know candidates. So I love the idea of an open primary. I truly believe that we've disenfranchised now 40% almost of our population who have chosen to become independent. I think we need to give them a say in our primaries, but this is not the way to do it. It is a confusing ballot, and I think they've got 10 times more ballots are thrown out in an election under ranked choice, which is what happened in, I think it's Maine and Alaska that have done this. So 10% of our voters are going to be disenfranchised. So it's a terrible idea. And I really hope.
Well, hang on.
people
When you
vote
say disenfranchised, you mean they just don't bother?
No. They vote, but their ballot gets tossed out because they didn't.
Their vote gets tossed out.
Yeah, their vote gets tossed out. Their
Right.
ballot literally gets tossed out because it didn't comply with this. You have to pick 5 candidates, and if your first one doesn't come in, your second one does, and if your second one doesn't, your fifth might, and it's just so confusing. So.
Do you want to be debating on this program? On this topic?
I would love to, sure. Yeah. I think John Sarpalis would be better to be on this side, but I do think that it's a crazy system.
And truthfully, I agree with you. Open primaries, I'm
Open
for
primaries is okay.
Let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Come one, come all, it's the $125,000 carnival of cash and prizes at Tamarack Casino. Get in on the fun with cash and free play prize drawings every Thursday and Saturday, including winners of up to $1,000 and a top prize of $5,000 guaranteed each week. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Here on 7 at 7, we're bringing you the local headlines in just 7 minutes.
We've got you covered in the morning, evening, and for all breaking news in between and as it happens.
Life is busy, and we don't waste your time. Join us for local news now streaming on our YouTube page.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Randi Thompson, the political consultant. CD2, Mark Amadei has been the congressman there for a long time. It's been a Republican seat ever since its inception. Greg Kidd, running as an independent, is spending a lot of money. Where do you think this is heading?
I had coffee with Greg a couple of weeks ago. Interesting man, very bright, very wealthy, moved here 3 years ago. He really is interested in seeing Nevada become more of a banking economy. There's some interesting banking ideas that he has. And he was talking about some election reforms and all these issues. And I wanted to turn to him and say, why aren't you running for the state Senate? Because you want to make Nevada more bank friendly and this and that. You should be like running here, and what you're doing in Congress really won't make a difference. So I don't see him out working real hard. He's got a lot of ads. I find it interesting, some of his ad placements are in neighborhoods that I wouldn't exactly. He's got a Planned Parenthood ad billboard on Wells Avenue, and that's a very Hispanic, very pro-life area. So that to me was kind of a misspent money. He's got a pretty good team behind him, but I just don't see him gelling. Again, nice guy, but I just don't see him catching on with the Republicans, with voters in general.
One of the things that I've done a lot in this program, and privately too, is say to people, run for an office you can win. Mm-hmm. You know, you're jumping in and you're running for governor or you're running for a United States Senate, and you know, you're running for an office you can't win. Now, of course, I said this to Sam Brown a few years ago, and he's now run one not successful campaign and now potentially a successful campaign.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong about this, but I mean, under normal circumstances, there are some really good people running in the mayor's race in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. There were 14 candidates. Out of there were 3 or 4 that I thought, because I did a town hall, I thought, man, these people would be great in the Assembly or the Senate in the state.
Yep.
But you can't get them to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm like Mike Ginsburg is running for the Senate up here, and he's got just a history, 3 generations of giving back to the community, and I'm really glad to see somebody like that willing to put their name on the ballot, because it's not fun to run for office. I've done it 4 times. It's not fun. So I admire anybody who's willing to do it, but yeah, get in the right lane.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I admire anybody who's willing to run for office, no matter what their party. Yep. Randy, it's been an absolute pleasure, and our time is over.
How did that go so quickly?
I don't even know, and if people only knew what we were discussing between the commercial.
And the cocktails we had beforehand, oh, they were so good, thank you.
Randi Thompson, we'll be right back.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day on various platforms, including television, radio, our website, audio and video podcasts, YouTube. You want to find the show, you can find it pretty darn easily. And we cover politics, business, health, and education. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next vlog.